Okay, so if you came here for Make Anime Great Again, a retrospective on trends in anime quality, you're in the right place. If you aren't here for Make Anime Great Again, you should stay anyway, because it's probably going to be better than whatever crap you were going to go to instead. With that, we are the foundation for the preservation of Gen 1 Pokemon. You may have seen one of our other panels, such as,
5th Gen isn't Pokemon, or dubs are better than subs, which we did here last year. That's in here. So if you saw dubs are better than subs, like a third of this content is familiar to you. Yeah, I'm sorry. You can. Oh, can I have that sandwich?
please. We spent like all day getting this ready, so
I spent all day shopping, so I'm hungry.
Shopping for a Subway sandwich. That Subway's not even that good.
No, it's not, but I'm hungry.
That's fair. That's fair.
If you guys hungry, there's Subway across the street also.
Yeah, I know. That one's not that good. I'm very familiar with the subways of Sacramento.
Well, there's no other place around.
Instead of the trains.
If you are interested in more of our content, you can go ahead and follow us on Twitter on @5thgen, not PKMN. And if you do, feel free to tweet at us, #MakeJohnnyYongBosch Great Again.
We're going to start somewhere that most of you don't expect, which is America. Now, most people believe that anime originated in Japan, and those people are wrong. Anime is from America, and I'm going to prove it to you, because I have a 4-point argument. Point 1. Osamu Tezuka, who created Astro Boy, largely credits a lot of the process for that to Carl Barks, who created the Scrooge McDuck comics. Therefore, Astro Boy was inspired by Scrooge McDuck. Therefore, Scrooge McDuck was the first anime. However, and here's where it gets a little hairy. Scrooge McDuck wasn't the first anime, at least depending on how you define it. If you're defining anime by the first serialized cartoon series, that would of course be Crusader Rabbit, which is real. That was in the 40s, and it was a play on radio programs, radio dramas of the time. However, Crusader Rabbit itself is inspired by the Crusades. And little-known fact about the Crusades, well-known fact, the Crusades were caused because the Byzantium Empire wanted the Pope to reclaim the Holy Land for them. But little-known fact, the first emperor of the Byzantium Empire was Scrooge McDuck.
This is a photographic map of both the Emperor of Byzantium, Scrooge McDuck, and the Emperor of the Western Roman Empire, Pope Francis.
Little-known fact, he's immortal. Which means that the Crusades are anime, the Byzantium Empire is anime, Scrooge McDuck is anime, so Astro Boy's like the 8th anime. Or more. I don't remember how many Crusades there were. Now, 6? I don't believe you. So, yeah, 12 sounds more right. So, this leads to a lot of creators of modern anime and even earlier anime are very aware of this, so they pay homage to Scrooge McDuck. The most blatant rip-off of that is Super Saiyan hair in Dragon Ball Z, which is gold to represent his vast wealth.
And with that, let's get into some other anime that you may be more familiar from that actually did quote-unquote originate in Japan.
All right, the first we got here is Astro Boy. It's commonly referred to as the first anime, as we just explained how wrong that is. Oh, can you hear me now? Good.
No.
So it was the first things that kind of introduced to a wider audience. So it was a blatant Mega Man ripoff, but moving past that, it was initially published in 1952. It took until 1963, though, to make it all the way to the U.S. in English. It was really the first popular anime that people really watched, meaning more than 10 people watched it. So, next on our list, we have Gigantor. So, he's one of the other first anime that came back to the West. He was also really popular in the US and Latin America, and in 1964, well after the 1990 release of the Iron Giant, which it borrows almost everything from. It was also dubbed in English. Next up, we have Kimba the White Lion, released in 1965 in the US. They didn't want to copy the Lion King too much, so they recolored the animals instead of just doing a direct copy. It was released in color and English, which were both big. And last we have Speedo Racist. I mean, Speed Racer. He came to the U.S. in 1967 and still well known even today, based on your laughs. He was created because the Japanese wanted something like the Fast and the Furious, but Vin Diesel was too manly for them. The English dubs for this are very memorable. They talk faster than anyone should ever, even if you really have to go to the bathroom.
And with that, we just have a quick look at some of the earliest anime, so we can take a look at some things that are in common between them, so we can try and draw a thread to look into what made anime great in the past. Because as we know, anime is no longer great now, and if we want to make it great again, we have to know what was great about it so we can try to emulate that. So if you look at all of these early anime, they have two major things in common. They're either poorly animated to the point where they can be summarized in a single GIF per episode, or blatant Disney ripoffs. But more broadly than that, they're unified by the fact that they were all dubbed into English. Therefore, we can conclude that all good anime is dubbed in English. And if you disagree with us, you're wrong, because the law of internet comments section states, if you're first, you're right. Dubbing was first, therefore it's right. And more importantly, it's important to get it in English anyway, because English, unlike Japanese, is a language people can understand. Let's get into some linguistics here for a second. Up here we have a chart showing kind of the phylogenetic tree for a lot of the Indo-European languages. We have English right over there. It's a commonly spoken Indo-European language. Most of you probably speak it at least passably well. Notably absent from this list is Japanese. So Japanese isn't an Indo-European language. If we take a look at a world map, all the countries that predominantly speak Indo-European languages are colored in green. Everything else is colored in blue. As you can see, there are no blue countries. Therefore, we can conclude that nobody speaks Japanese. So if you're trying to get your series to be widely adopted by, widely consumed by an audience, you might want to pick a language that they can actually understand. So why would you ever pick Japanese? Therefore, dubs are better.
As a note, there are some seats on that side if you don't like standing up.
Or you can keep standing up. That's okay, too.
It's cool. It just makes it look like you want to leave or you might shoot everyone in here. This isn't Columbine. So, now, we talked a lot about past anime, and then we kind of hit this dearth where there isn't much after Gigantor and Speed Races. That wasn't even on purpose. And that was because Gigantor, on a trade mission to the United States to bring even more anime over to our culturally backwards lands, kind of fell into the ocean and froze, and brought about just a really dark time. So that, and then, he came back, we unfroze him in the 90s, and that's when we started seeing a proliferation of great anime, along with dubbing companies, which are, the best. The first is ADV. I don't really care. ADV kind of, I guess they were considered too big, so they sort of have a monopoly on anime, which I would like to note is a terrible fucking board game, which we have proven empirically in a previous panel. And it's on YouTube, and you can watch it. Just go to our YouTube channel. So basically what happened was Teddy Roosevelt had to come in and bust that trust. And he took the monopoly ADV had and split it into 5 companies. Sentai Filmworks, Seraphim Studios, AE Sir Holdings, Section 23, and not actually Anime Network, but fucking none of these companies have logos, so I had to make some myself. All of that being said, though, what's really good about ADV is they dub ghost stories. If you think you're getting a clip, you're wrong. Ghost Stories is great. One of the best things about Ghost Stories is they realized that the Japanese version was inferior in every aspect. So instead of playing it straight when they dubbed over, they just made fun of it. The point where that subtitle right there is of the dubbed version, not the Japanese version. So even the people who watched it subbed got the dubbed version because it's that much better.
Next up, as far as dubbing companies goes, we of course have Funimation, the greatest of the dubbing companies. Greatest because, you know, they got pretty much everybody into anime, myself included. We'll get into that more later. But first thing to note about Funimation, very important, it's a portmanteau of fun and animation. You may think it's a portmanteau of fun and animation, but you should read the Wikipedia article.
I mean, Funimation doesn't even have an A or N in it.
I know, right? It's like you don't even read Wikipedia for fun or anything like that. But most importantly, they dubbed Dragon Ball Z. And if you're like me, Dragon Ball Z was how you got introduced to anime as a child. It's the only reason you're basically affiliated with this culture. And because I was introduced to anime through Dragon Ball Z, that therefore must mean that everybody was, meaning this was the most pivotal moment in the history of anime.
And America.
They also inadvertently invented the meme, which is also super important. Like, second most important thing in my life right now is memes after anime. So that's just pretty critical right there. Not quite as important as Dragon Ball Z, but still pretty critical. Funimation dubbed Hetalia, which is... It's good that they dubbed Hetalia because the dub version is much better than the Japanese subtitled version, because the only reason Hetalia is funny at all is because all the characters have incredibly racist accents in the English dub, and they don't have these in the English version, in this Japanese version, which, I mean, what's the point if you're not gonna get racism in your anime, right? They also dubbed the hit comedy Grave of the Fireflies. Every time I'm feeling down and I just need a quick upper, some quick laughs, I put on Grave of the Fireflies and I immediately feel 10 times better. I highly recommend everybody do the same.
Alright, go over. And last up,
watch it.
Did we watch the same thing?
We have
watch it.
4Kids. It's the Fire Nation.
No.
So, where things start to go downhill a little.
No.
Before 4Kids, animation was in harmony, with quality products galore. But then 4Kids attacked. They entered the market and started to license anime and dub in English, which you'd think was a good thing. You'd be wrong.
Don't say
That's
that.
how they fooled you. In fact, because they went through and censored as much things as they could. Anything that was even considered vaguely offensive. Like rice balls. Because I know if I said rice balls in my household, I was going out in the street.
Well, I mean, apparently it's been hunted to extinction, so I think we're fine.
The fact that we had a picture of rice balls is actually why this is a 16-up panel. This was considered too offensive for small children.
Next up, they did away with hell and just made a thing that was the same as hell, just had a new name. Because that totally solves the issue. And the last one we have here is the next show they completely destroyed. Any semblance of creative integrity that show had totally went out the window. I can't believe how they performed such an atrocity. Guys, they wanted to make this show safe, they put clothes on Nami. And little known fact, they also did the re-release for E.T. If you look on the right versus the left, you'll notice they animated out all of the guns and replaced them with CGI walkie-talkies. Because that's how you make money.
So, we've gone over all the bad stuff and the good stuff, and now we're kind of up to Toonami. Woo! So, little known fact, Tom from Toonami is actually Gigantor after we unfroze him. So he is the Avatar. And Toonami really ushered in anime for the masses by, putting it on in a time slot that children could watch, which is important. This is where we get a lot of the classics like Sailor Moon, which would honestly probably still have anime conventions for itself, even if anime wasn't popular. Other hits like Zoid Chaotic Century, Zoid's New Century, the most famous Zoid's Trigun Century, and then Zoid's Pokemon Century, which, as we all know, is a blatant Sesame Street ripoff. And the most violent of all Zoid's franchises, Zoid's Hamtaro Century. We all remember the episode where Boss single-handedly dismembered Bijou. That was painful.
I'm still scarred to this day.
My stomach's uneasy thinking about it.
Just go watch Grave for the Fireflies.
You're right. That'll cheer me up.
Luckily, Toonami had other quality programming. Whenever I was too violenced out as a small child from Zoid's Hamtaro Century, I would always immediately turn to Dragon Ball Z. As I mentioned before, got me into anime, is still one of the greatest animes of all time. Not the greatest, but still one of the greatest. It's renowned for its well-developed, well-in-advanced plot lines that totally weren't done at the seat of Akira Toriyama's pants as he went along. Well-developed, fleshed-out characters, all of whom remained completely relevant throughout the entire series. Nobody was sidelined. Everyone was important. It was a real mess. It was a great message to spread to children that everyone can be important if you work hard enough at it. The animation quality was gorgeous. Everything was perfect. It was so good, in fact, that toward the end of its lifespan, they had to keep it going by creating the greatest Dragon Ball franchise, Dragon Ball GT, which took everything that was great about DBZ and took it up to 11. Simply fantastic.
Who's booing? Who's booing? There's a laser pointer. Follow it. Didn't work. Damn.
All right, our next great, truly great anime, featured a realistic and grounded world that people could identify with, especially children, because it took place being a kid in a neighborhood. That happened to most people. And they'd even taught real-world skills.
Check your privilege.
Like how to be a con artist. Who doesn't want to be a con artist? You came to this panel, after all. So, it also had important things, like it had accurate depictions of foreign cultures, like Europeans with Rolf. And of this room with Plank. But it was also a great gateway anime for introducing us feeble-minded Americans into the world of anime.
Now, I know what you're saying. They've left out one of the most pivotal anime from the period of anime greatness. And you're right, we did. This is one of the most pivotal, and it is, of course, Fooly Cooly. Or, if you can't cook, Furry Curry. Fooly Cooly is renowned for having a great soundtrack that is 3 CDs long, but only 6 episodes. It has a lot of different animation styles to the point where it rips off of South Park, another instance of Japan blatantly ripping off our creative process because they can't think for themselves. And it's beautiful, it's great, but is it the greatest?
I would have to say, unfortunately, no. Fooly Cooly is up there, but it's not the greatest anime, because the greatest anime features such great characters as Toru.
That's Fruits Basket. That's like top 100 maybe.
That's fair. The greatest anime also features Embor.
That is a 5th gen monstrosity. That's not even a Pokemon. Get your shit together. Thank you. That is pornography.
I might have...
That's Gen 6, that's fine.
I might have rushed the slideshow last night.
How about this one?
But don't worry.
That's Gen 7, that's fine too.
Yes. But it's a Gen 1 Pokemon.
Misty is also fine.
Might have rushed the slideshow last night, but don't worry. I didn't forget the fact the greatest anime was also Ganondorf's breakout anime role.
So, you do have the right anime this time, and I'm proud of you. but that is not Ganondorf. The best anime is, of course, Jackie Chan Adventures. Yeah! Which is so good that we are working on a Kickstarter to bring it back. Jackie Chan Adventures, as you remember, was the show where Jackie Chan would, as a real-life archaeologist, would go on adventures and teach you good morals. Now, I know we're asking for a lot of money here, $100 million just for the trailer of the pilot. That is because not only are we trying to get Tom Hanks to voice Jackie Chan, but we are going to have him animate the entire pilot. Because if you're good at one art, you're good at all arts, right?
He needs to draw it by hand in crayon, or else we will not be satisfied.
Now, the problem, of course, is that Crunchyroll is refusing to work with us on this.
We keep trying to contact @MilesExpress999 over this, and he keeps refusing our tweets. So everyone, please tweet @MilesExpress999 and demand a Jackie Chan Adventures anime through Crunchyroll.
Or at least put it on Netflix. Come on.
So now that we've kind of been through the golden era of anime, the greatest series of anime of all time, what sorts of things made anime great, now we have to go into what's not so great about anime nowadays. So we can see what went
besides
wrong.
that Jackie Chan Adventures is over in syndication.
There is that.
I should go kill myself.
But we're going to start with the fact that nowadays people are interested in the crappiest genres of anime. It's just atrocious. Like, we used to have fine, epic adventures, but now you guys are into crap like mega arc shows. You know what I'm talking about. Shows like One Piece, Fairy Tail.
We were explicitly told not to make fun of Fairy Tail.
Do it!
So we did it.
Do it! Do it! We're glad you did.
All of these animes, they might have started out with some interesting premises, introduced some interesting characters, but the fundamental problem they ran into is that they've been going on for way too long. They're just like The Simpsons. They've worn out whatever creativity they started with, and they're just coasting off the fact that they can keep making money by making the main character's boobs bigger periodically. And as soon as that stops working, they're going to cancel it. It's just a travesty. I'm so upset. I'm going to stop talking now.
Yeah, our next crap genre is the slice of life anime. Because somehow watching things that you could go do yourself is more interesting than just go doing them. Basketball smart. You might as well go watch IRL on Twitch. At least someone's having fun then.
Why do we watch football then?
But
We're not there.
yeah, I don't think anyone here wants.
That's not this genre.
But by literally doing anything other than this panel and this anime convention, you too could be more interesting than a slice of life anime. In fact, if we go to Wikipedia and look at the definition of slice of life, it literally says that they're a depiction of mundane experiences. And can it get any worse? Oh, yes. It actually says, see right there, lack of plot development, conflict, exposition, or anything else that would make it interesting to watch. I didn't even have to edit Wikipedia to make it say that. Sure, they might have QT characters, but at that rate, you might as well go out and buy an art book. At least then it involves you in coloring between the lines or ripping out pages for whoever's not the best girl.
But it's not free.
Speaking of best girl, harems. Wait, are you happy?
Garbage. Stop cheering.
Well, hey, they might be cheering because they are garbage. So first of all, side note, the main character never picks the best girl. Never, ever. Like in this show, he probably picked the wrong girl. Now, the real problem with harem anime is, of course, how unrealistic they are. Much like Slice of Life. No, those are real. Nothing happens in your lives, let's be honest. When have there been 5 girls interested in you? This is a real harem anime. This is how it actually works. You're one of 6 dudes chasing a girl who's not interested in you and then leaves you for someone else. Okay, I'm done.
And the next genre is kind of a newer one, but it's the virtual world anime.
It's still bad, folks.
What is wrong with you people?
No, we all agree with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad that people here have correct opinions. No, they're not.
No!
We must be absolutists.
Partially the reason why this
You want to choose the
fake
laser
news.
pointer? It's right here.
So part of the reason they're so bad is because literally you're participating in their escapism as your escapism. It's like watching someone jack off, but even more awkward. By the way, hand check.
Let's go, hand check.
Okay, so now here's the thing. You all misunderstood that. You're not supposed to put your hands up. You're supposed to put them down.
Because if there's anything more fun than watching someone play a video or playing a video game yourself, it's watching someone else play a video game you'll never be able to, even remotely as good as them. Ignoring Twitch, of course, that shit's great.
I like Smash.
But you say that they have cool worlds. It's like, then why not watch something that doesn't acknowledge itself as fake? The writers can't even create a cool world without saying that it's too cool to ever exist. So they make it fake in their fake universes. Just go watch an actual fantasy anime where they at least pretend it's real.
Next up, we have a genre a couple people have touched on previously, and that is gay sports anime.
Preach, brother.
Every single one of these anime is exactly the same.
Why do
You have one of the guys, he's a little shy, and let's be real, he's the bottom. Who's all mopey and angsty about, there's this specific sports technique I can't do very well. They go out and play a game, they lose, they have a big training montage full of all of this hit you over the head homoerotic subtext, except it's between multiple characters to placate the people into shipping, and we'll get to that later. Woo! They get to the end of the tournament arc. They win the big game after a bunch of suspense, but really nothing changes, and the main character goes right back to where he was at the beginning. And nothing changed. Nobody learned anything really, except one dude learned how to dribble a basketball a little better.
As a side note, we would like to note that it's only gay sports anime if it's all guys, since they're literally playing with sticks and balls. When it's women, it's fine. I don't know. I honestly don't know any sports anime. So this is our final genre we're going to shit on, and it's pedo bait. It's Roy Moore. So pedo bait, he's here. So pedo bait is, of course, the genre of anime where you have that 12-year-old girl who's totally legal because she's like an immoral vampire or some shit. So, like, the 20-year-old photographer is like, I can fuck her because she's not really 12, and I just explained Roy Moore's favorite anime. No, it has some really suggestive stuff. Little known fact, Ed, Edd n Eddy did dabble in this genre, but it's still fine, unlike everything else that exploits this genre.
Next, we're going to talk about some of the other terrible things that became of the industry, like Crunchyroll. It's just terrible. First off, Crunchyroll isn't even a real sushi. Have you ever tried to order a Crunchyroll? No, maybe if they named themselves a California roll, but they didn't, so it's a different story. And second off, they try to make you pay for the anime, and they don't even accept Dogecoin. What's that?
Which we'd like to note is worth over $1 billion now.
They also only have subs, which means they don't have all the old good anime that we previously established just all in English and dubbed. So that's why they hate you, the viewer. And then they tell me that they have a stream, and I don't see running water. I expect at least like a couple gallons.
But do they have raw water?
Oh God, that's so fucking stupid. And then the last straw. They hired this guy. Trust me, it makes them terrible.
He said he was going to be here. He's not here.
He lied to us.
By the way, he works for Crunchyroll. It was a terrible decision to hire him. Makes Crunchyroll even worse.
He's the guy who writes their tweets.
He'll just randomly come to your house. Just like Cory in the House, which is apparently also categorized as anime on Crunchyroll. Don't ask me how, why, or anything else about that.
So you may be asking, okay, so all these crappy genres are popular, and you may be thinking, oh, is it entirely Crunchyroll's fault for supplying it? The problem is it's not a supply-side problem. Every single one of these crappy genres we brought up elicited at least one bemoaned cry from the audience, meaning there is demand for these crappy animes. And that's fundamentally because the thing that is ruining anime is the anime fan base. Because fandoms are cancer.
I miss you guys, man.
But why are...
Totally isn't a panel we gave.
Why are fandoms cancer? Like, we're not saying that it's wrong to like something. Liking something is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But, see, the problem is when you take it too far. When you're really obsessed with some really obscure thing and you just go totally overboard with it and turn it into a cult. And the thing that has really catalyzed this is the internet. Because back in the day, if you wanted to get a fan club together, you had to actually get people physically together to talk about it. And while that's not a problem for larger fan bases like Star Trek or something like that, if you're interested in some, I don't know, reverse trap hentai or whatever, there might not be...
Really?
There might not be enough...
Here's the dot. It's not working. There it is. Follow it.
There might not be enough people in your city or even the next town over to get a fan base together. And furthermore, being into reverse trap hentai might be seen as somewhat socially unacceptable, so you may be somewhat embarrassed to show up to one of these events.
Not embarrassed enough to woo for it, though.
I guess. But the internet solves both of these problems with anonymity and the elimination of geographical distance. While there may not be enough people interested in, I don't know,
white nationalism?
Yeah. To fill up a basement, there are enough people to fill up an internet chat room. You may be embarrassed to show up to a KKK rally by yourself. But if all you got to do is log into a subreddit, that's a lot easier to do. The barrier for entry is lower. So the internet has precipitated so many toxic fandom behaviors, which we're going to get into right now, actually.
The first of which being escapism. Ah, shit, it's Oron again. I knew that would curse me. I remember when I thought it was good. I had trash taste. So,
do you see the dot?
I do. I thought it was good. I don't anymore. So, escapism is where your life is shit, which is true because you're at a fucking anime convention. And,
so are you.
Yeah, but I'm doing it to evangelize that your life is shit, so it's fine. I'm waking you up.
We get off on trolling you guys.
Hand check, Clayton, hand check. Good. So, escapism is bad. You're basically utilizing anime to escape from the real world, which I know the real world's scary, I understand, but don't fucking do that. And then what happens is, in your escape, you start creating these alternate realities around yourself with, fake news and non-real facts, and suddenly you'll only talk to people who are in the same bubble as you, and it creates this really bad tribalism.
This is all coming from people.
That's a real website, yes. We did change the stuff on the side, but alpha only and shit. Age 14 to 88.
So this is all coming from people who are
The next big problem with the fan community is headcanon. What is that, you might ask? Well, whenever something isn't explicitly described, the fans have their own ideas, and all agree on it. The best example of this is, one of the examples is something called Welcome to Night Vale. So there's no official art, but the fandom went and created an agreed-upon drawing for the main character, and they will literally fight you over this drawing. That if you say, but that's not how he looks in my head, well, then you're wrong and they kick you out. So if fans wanted to explain something where the authors or writers didn't bother to explain it or wanted to leave it open for future ideas, the fans now take it and fill it with smut and Shadow the Hedgehog. And if they feel like getting extra jiggy with it, they, instead of Shadow, they use their own original characters, which is the next issue. By the way, if you have never Googled your name the Hedgehog, never do this, ever. No amount of counseling will ever be enough.
But a certain amount of bleach might.
I'm still scarred, that's why I give panels.
Right down the gullet.
So if you've ever watched a show, you may notice they have characters. But why would you be interested in their characters that are complex and interesting and have spent months being created and people actually paid money for? When you could write your own character in 30 seconds, when you can slap on a new coat of paint, add a mustache, and say, "Do not steal, it's mine." That's how the series should have been. Makes everything better, right? And of course, our original characters are completely exempt from these standing arguments. Let me introduce Bigger the Catter.
Next up, of course, we have shipping. And see, with the increasingly globalized economy, shipping is where international supply chains are set up. Tariffs might be...
This is not an economics panel.
Damn it.
Can we please make it into an economics panel?
No, you have to cover the material you prepared.
I came here for that.
No, you didn't. Don't lie.
Okay.
This isn't political theory in anime. That panel is dead.
Shipping is when people speculate on whether two imaginary characters are doing it. Usually the notation
As a note, none of us are doing it.
There's no Waluigi / Mario going on here. Don't ship that.
And never Google it.
But the term basically
God, if
originated
you write a
on...
fanfic about us.
The term originated on X-Files Usenet forums. People were speculating on whether Mulder and Scully were a thing.
I got it.
With threads titled Mulder X Scully. And also with the Star Trek fandom, there's some speculation that Kirk / Spock might be a thing. And that's actually where the term slash comes from, the term slash fic for more homoerotic ships. And I think it was at a Star Trek convention at one point. Gene Roddenberry was cornered by a fan and asked, so is Kirk / Spock a thing? And his answer was something to the effect of, I don't know, it's the future, like, it's social acceptability, they're out in space forever, so I don't know, things happen. Which was basically all the Tumblr fangirls needed to go nuts. I will add on...
that guy.
Huh?
You're gonna write a fanfic, right? Yeah. We were talking about you're a Tumblr fangirl.
I will add on, our ships are completely exempt from us asserting that shipping is bad. Lelouch X Suzaku for life.
So, wait, I would like to note that Colton's gone. You don't have to defend that slide anymore.
What if Colton was defending it for me? Good thing this isn't being recorded.
See the light? Follow the light.
At least this isn't being recorded.
Shit. Okay. So, next problem with fandoms is, of course, cultural gatekeeping. Oh, hi!
Hey!
So,
we miss you, AOD.
cultural, yeah, RIP AOD. It was a good con, left too soon.
Many panels.
Yeah, they gave me 5 panels.
We went to all of them.
Why would you do that? So,
You guys are good. It was
shut the
funny.
fuck up. So, they're a little too into us. I'm really scared. So, cultural gatekeeping is when, I don't know, 3 assholes get a panel, sit up front, and go, you know what? Free isn't really anime. And the best anime was Jackie Chan Adventures, and everything made after it is shit. Fight me. Or, I don't know, Gen 5 isn't real Pokemon. Fight me. So, you know, everything we do. Catan's a bad board game. That's true, though, by the way. Gen 5 isn't Pokemon, which is still true, but it's when fans sit there and decide what does or does not make a fan. And I'm going to soapbox real quick. This is going to be fun. So, if you notice, nerd culture is generally hostile to women. Shocking. So, this is generally prominent because, like, as we've grown up, most nerd characters in shows are men. So as guys growing up, it's very easy for us to be accustomed to seeing a guy and being like, they can be a nerd because I've seen nerds on TV and that's what they look like. Hey, Sheldon. I'm going to kill myself now. Fuck Big Bang Theory. Yeah, but because, like, we've never seen a girl who knows what a video game is, when we're introduced to one, we get really defensive and scared because it's different. And then suddenly we have to, like, quiz them. So don't do that. Anyone can be a nerd. Case in point, there's at least 2 genders in this room. At least. I'm being nice about it. See, some can be something else.
Lastly, we're going to go over a phenomenon that we're just going to refer to with the umbrella term fandoms as identity, which is
Cancer.
You go way beyond speculating on whether characters are doing it, whether or not a character looks a certain way, inventing OCs. You start assuming that you start taking the fact that you like something and make it a core part of your identity, often to disastrous results. One big example is real-life Team Skull, Juggalos, which engage in such harmful activities as putting on hideous clown makeup and drinking Faygo.
Actually, half of those are tattoos.
For research purposes, we tried drinking Faygo. We would not recommend it. It's awful. It has both sugar and artificial sweeteners in it for some reason. So it combines the terrible aftertaste of diet with the fact that it's still giving you empty
Do you have
calories.
a question about...
There's no reason to drink Faygo.
Okay, what's your question?
Can we just also make the PSA that diet soda is actually pretty deadly?
No. We're not going to do that.
Aspartame's probably fine. Next up...
Raw water, however, is going to kill you.
Yeah, don't drink...
Also,
drink treated water, for the love of God.
No. Bleach is good for you. It is delicious and nutritious. You are mostly water. Bleach is mostly water. Therefore, you are bleach. By drinking it, it will clean your internal organs. And if you do have a violent reaction to it, it's just because you've sinned. Yes.
But if, like, your parents hid away the bleach, like, do you need a replacement? I heard Tide Pods work.
No, we just said Tide Pods aren't good for you. Bleach or nothing. I know, well, here's the thing. I know Clorox now makes brooms, because I bought one. Because, of course, I'm going to buy the Clorox brand broom. So if you can put it in a blender and, like eat that like rabbit food, you'll be fine.
Just as a quick disclaimer, as someone who actually has a degree in biochemistry and is getting a PhD in biophysics, do not believe this man. Bleach will kill you.
I have a degree in political science. I know what I'm talking about. Bleach is amazing.
You tried it?
Another cancerous fandom.
I've watched 121 episodes of Bleach, and it was delicious.
Go ahead. What?
No cancer jokes, please.
Why no cancer jokes?
No, don't ask.
Okay. Next up, we have Deadpool cosplayers, which basically just all congregate in the same place in the conventions and like to talk about how great being Deadpool is. It's fantastic. I don't know. It's not. It's awful. Don't do it.
They just walk up to you and start talking as if their identity is Deadpool. It is not, you're annoying, I don't care, leave me alone. Yes.
I actually just want to say a statement. Them doing that is actually pretty accurate.
Oh, I know it's totally in character, but it's fucking obnoxious.
We're just being trolls right now, basically. So next up, there's too many to count, but we're just going to end fandom's identity with the most egregious example of this. A fandom that has indoctrinated an entire generation of young people with a ridiculous ideology, has made its author exceptionally wealthy and granted them excessive amounts of power and social influence, still has followers to this day for no apparent reason. I can't understand it. They talk no sense whatsoever. And also, the Fiction associated with this is commonly read by people who identify as grand wizards. We're, of course, talking about the Harry Potter fan base. Now that we've broken Godwin's law.
I think we did that a while ago. So, now everything we've been over is kind of, what the experts and professionals and panelists say is what's killing anime. But we're going to go into the real story. We're going to dive into the weeds, the real reason, featured on Neckbeard Nightly. And reason one we think anime has actually been going downhill is peak anime. Now, anime is a finite resource that we must mine from the earth. And as a finite resource, there is only so much of it. And we mined a fuck ton of it in the 90s, especially to make Jackie Chan adventures. And because of that, there isn't a lot of anime left, which means that every show we make is of decreasing quality because we just can't match the peak we hit in the 90s. Now anime is dying, and it's never going to be as good as it was.
And it's all your fault!
Just drive electric cars, we'll be fine.
See, that's what he wants you to believe, but that's not the
It's
real
the
reason.
truth.
The real reason is because Y2K. As we know, all of Japan is, like 70% of Japan is androids. So, when Y2K hit, all of the animators shut down and stopped making good anime. So that's why we don't have good anime anymore. And if you notice, it's very similar, but obviously different graph. Just look at the axis. Once 2000 hit, it started going downhill steeply, and it's just continued from there. We're in the gutter now. It's just a terrible. I mean, a few animators hung on long enough to produce things like Jackie Chan Adventures, but there's nothing good anymore.
With all due respect to my colleagues, they're completely full of shit. Y2K, I believed it going into it, but if you haven't noticed, this computer still works, so you're wrong. And peak anime is a conspiracy theory from Big Geothermal, trying to steal hard-working American jobs mining anime greatness. No, the real reason why anime is crap nowadays is because Crunchyroll killed Harambe. Anime goes through natural greatness cycles. It peaked in the late 90s, it was the greatest it's been for a while, and then it started going downhill because it naturally does that. The recent trough, at which point it was supposed to start becoming great again, was supposed to have already happened. Harambe was going to stumble upon a Dragon Ball GT box set someone dropped in his exhibit, binge watch the entire thing in a weekend, become woke as hell, and ascend to godhood after becoming the Golden Uzuru and usher in a new era of anime greatness. But then Crunchyroll stepped in. They were making too much money off of that Fujo bait gay sports anime you love so much. They didn't want to do real work making good anime. So they planted the kid in the cage and had him assassinated. And now anime is doomed forever because Crunchyroll killed Harambe. So thanks a lot, Crunchyroll. Thanks a lot, @MilesExpress999. And if you want some accountability for this atrocity, go on to @MilesExpress999's Twitter right now and tweet some dank Harambe memes at him. I don't care how dead this meme is. We need justice.
That was unhinged. So, maybe it's redeemable? Let's find out. How can we fix anime? We can't. We lost the receipt. We can't return it. We've kind of hit, oh, good, it works. So if we were in this,
accretion disc.
If we were in the accretion disc part, we'd be fine. But it's been a while, and we're in the fucking singularity. This is where anime is now, and it's going to be there forever. So really, the only thing that we can do is improve as a culture. And the first step in doing that is taking a shower. Please take a shower.
We would recommend Old Spice highly. Old Spice is not sponsoring us, but we would like them to sponsor us.
Unlike Bleach, which explicitly won't sponsor us and sends us several seasons of letters. Step 2, get rid of the waifu. I don't care how sexy Nick Cage is. You don't need him in your life. And point 3, stop doing shit like this. The fuck is that? I don't know what that is, but you're doing it right now. So, if we stop doing that, we divorce our waifus, even if we pay some alimony, it's fine in the long run, don't worry. And bathe, I think that we, as a culture, can progress and maybe become fitting of at least the anime that we want to have. So now we're going to preempt the responses from our critics. Are we nostalgia tripping? Yes. Obviously.
And some of you may ask, are we serious? Well, we did sit here for an hour yelling at you, and we spent at least a couple hours preparing this beforehand, so yes, we're
I thought we found this panel in the trash. Like just a flash drive in the garbage.
I thought we agreed to lie about that.
You're right. Hundreds of hours.
You may ask us, do we know what we're talking about? I don't know. Decide for yourself. Looks pretty legit to me.
And finally, are we domestic terrorism at its finest? Well, we're no Timothy McVeigh, but we try. So, I'd like to do a special thanks. We'd like to thank Funimation, Toonami, and 4Kids for bringing us real anime, unlike fucking Crunchyroll.
We would like to thank His Divine Grace Basilius Scrooge McDuck I for inventing anime by calling the First Crusade.
I'd like to thank all of you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have to be here.
Jackie Chan Adventures, of course, for being the peak of not just anime greatness, but artistic greatness that one could only dream of achieving in their life.
Greatness trademark?
Yeah, it is. It just doesn't show up all in the DuckTales font.
It's pending at the patent office. We're just preemptively...
Pretty sure Trump owns it by now.
We would also like to thank the English language, which is comprehensible, unlike Japanese, as we have previously systematically proven is not real.
And the DuckTales cinematic universe for providing such a wonderful thing for every anime to rip off of.
Now, you can follow us on Twitter at 5thgen.pkmn. We'll let you know when we're going to IHOP, because IHOP is really the only acceptable fandom. Not even ours is fine, since they're fucking writing slash fics about us now.
Pennies for life.
Yes! Okay, get the fuck out. Follow the goddamn light. I will kill you.
I told you he was a bad replacement.
Okay.
Talk about this
failed. He is not allowed to give panels with us again. We also live tweet me. Yeah, get the fuck out. We have a YouTube channel, 5th Gen is in Pokemon. That's where all of our other panels that I've bothered to edit are. So if you want to see our other stuff, you can go there. You'll notice there are a lot of similarities since this is the cannibalization of 3 of our previous panels.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thanks for your hard work.
No. Actually, I think we put more work into this than all 3 of them. Wow. Like, if you didn't notice that News Chiron was different every slide.
Yeah, I have.
And I was up till like 2 a.m. doing that.
You're a hero.
I'm sad. Also, you're all garbage, but do we love them?
I don't know, but I guess we'll
not whoever cheered for the reverse trap thing, you suck.
They left.
Oh, cool. No.